It's sad. I don't know how some people live with it. I don't know how some people sleep at night knowing they're poisoned. Yeah, if they make enough money, they don't care how much they How do these people sleep at night? The problem is they poison our community and it's not safe for us to be there. They need to get out there and buy my house and get
I don't know where to get one. What's changed? But it has to do with the focus. Turn on another focus.
I did. It's still there. It's just you can't see it. I think so.
There's a setting in there.
It's there. I don't know. It's because I'm doing audit.
Well, try to work it out, dude. You still have a couple of minutes.
Wait, I have 4, so we're good.
I'm gonna go to the other side.
Okay, so
You guess?
I just don't know what f-stop I could be recording.
Whatever you think looks good. I don't know.
It could be super slow-mo. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna wait the box image. Dad, it's not the final copy we have. This is just a flop.
I know.
We'll have a clean copy.
But we're trying to do it good as one as we can. So if you can figure out how to get rid of it, because it's showing it on the display is what it is. Anything on the display is showing.
This is just a monitor is what it is.
Yeah.
So whatever shows on that monitor, it
No.
shows on that.
Yeah.
How you doing? Hey guys. Good. Hey. Is that yours?
No. Just want to bring a couple things in. There's agendas in the hallway. We need an agenda. If you do plan on speaking, you need to fill out a request to speak form. We will call you in the order that you get the forms. And if in the meeting something comes up, you went, oh, I want to talk about it, you still need to do a request to speak. Okay? That way we can kind of see how much time we can give everybody. We do have to be out of the building no later than 8 o'clock. So we need to be concise in what people are saying. But if this is a 2-hour meeting, we will start in just a few minutes. Thank you. No, but you never see.
These two will see.
John, you said you retired.
No, I'm not. Look old white.
Never gonna retire.
I can't stay too long.
John still teaches morons, right?
Yeah.
Can't retire. It's a joke.
I'm not there.
Because it's a moron. It's a
call the meeting to order. Just before I do call the meeting to order, just want to bring up that we are being videotaped, and this is from Castaic High School. And I'm sorry, what's the?
Good morning, Castaic.
Good morning, Castaic. So just in case people are wondering who's recording, the reason why it's a program that the high school is here. As I said before, there are requests to speak forms. Please fill one out and you can hand it to Yvette here up in the front. If you want to speak on something on the agenda, and I'll talk about it in a second. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:05.
Bob Lewis here, Jeremiah Dockery, Tim Hotterdale here, Gary Horton
Here.
Sandra Patel.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we have an agenda. Good. I need someone to approve the agenda, and you guys have a chance to take a look at the minutes. approval of agenda first, and then we'll make a motion.
I second that.
Okay. Any comments on the agenda? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. Agenda passes. Approval of minutes for our meeting from August 15th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from August 15th.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. I do have one, not really a correction, but in the minutes. The request to speak, you have it under item C, item D, not on the agenda. Those requests to speak were actually on the agenda, we just didn't have a line that said that. So it's speaking on agenda items 1%.
Okay.
So we just need that correction. Everybody is okay with that correction? I'd like to make a motion, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right, we have nothing on the agenda under old business. We will get into new business in a second here. This is the Community Advisory Committee for Chiquita Canyon Landfill. We do have people from the landfill, and we have people from various county departments here. There was a couple of really bad accidents. I don't know if we're going to get a representative from AQMD, which is on the agenda. If not, I have update information that I will provide. The way that we're going to do this is that we will go through the agenda items under new business and have each department give an update. I'm going to ask them to give an update about anything that's changed from our last meeting, briefly state what their department covers, and as we go through each agenda item, if the committee has any questions, they'll ask it at that time. Then when we go through all 7 agenda items, we will go to agenda item number 8, and that'll be public comment on any agenda item that you've already spoken for. So I know we did this last time and it works out fairly well, that if you could just hold your comments or your questions, you have the opportunity to ask them if you fill out a request to speak form, but we will do it after we cover those 7 agenda items. All right? Okay. That's about it. So let's go ahead and we have no old business on the agenda, new business. The first thing on the agenda, and before we get this, I'm just going to give everybody a quick update because it is something that has been asked quite a lot about the funds from the CUP. The Community Benefit Fund was previously tied up in a legal challenge. It did get resolved. However, the release of the Community Benefit Fund has been approved, and a monetary relief program is currently being developed by Los Angeles County Development Authority for the disbursement of those funds. At this time, the program is still in its infancy stage, and there is no details with respect to the criteria or the amounts to be distributed. As soon as the LA County Development Authority finalizes the program, the public will be informed on the details of how the program will be implemented. I think there's one minor adjustment to what I just read. That is some news going forward, and that'll be covered by the Department of Regional Planning when we get to their part on the agenda. But for people to understand, there is a CUP that has been in place, but there was also a lawsuit with a settlement agreement, and at some point, the CUP will have to be taken a look at to see if there's certain parts of it that may need to be adjusted based upon that settlement agreement. So that's why you're not seeing, hearing as many things as we would like to hear at this point. They're still making the adjustments. All right, so let's go to agenda item number 1. Any updates from Chiquita Canyon Landfill? We have Steve Casula with us tonight, District Manager for Landfill. Oh, there's Larry. You made it.
Good evening, this is Chiquita, District Manager, Chiquita Canyon Landfill. I'm going to update you guys from, the last meeting that we've been at to present, okay? And give you as much information on that and what's going forward. There's a lot of information on what's happening. I'm sorry if you missed the last meeting and didn't get those updates. We could hopefully answer some of those questions after the fact, or you're welcome to see me after the meeting and I can get you up to speed with that. But that was a long meeting the last time, and there's a lot of information there. So going forward, what we've had happen since the last meetings, last Wednesday on September 16th, we entered into the stipulated order of abatement with the AQMD that requires us to continue implementing odor reaction and related mitigation measures that we have previously already undertaken voluntarily. The stipulated order also requires us to undertake a few new mitigation measures and investigate into the potential causes of the landfill reaction impacts, and the mitigation measures for slowing and stopping the reaction and any other odors. We're performing all of this work under the close supervision of AQMD. The AQMD order had 40 different conditions in it overall. And those conditions, on just a couple of highlights to give you a background on what's going on. There's the third-party odor surveillance, prioritizing the low emissions flare, surface emission sampling at the reaction area. There's an organization of the DMS committee of experts, expanding our gas well field system, expanding our liquids collection system, expanding the flaring capacity, addressing the cover integrity, adding semi-permanent odor vapor control systems at the reaction area. And then there's a handful, I'm not even going to go through all of them, but there's 10 or 15 different reports that we're going to have to put together each and every week, month, and quarter for the AQMD for oversight. We'll be sharing those reports along with everything else that we're doing along this realm on the report side to the county. All the agencies that you see here tonight will get copies of those, along with the CAC and the TAP as we go forward. The order, in case anybody wants to check it out, it's pretty long, but it's a lot of detail to it. The order is available on our website. We'll be providing information on the order during our community meeting, which is on this Thursday. So anybody else wants to get a little bit more additional information, any updates that we have between now and then, and another update from the actual toxologist, we're going to have that on our Zoom call, which is this Thursday, 6 o'clock. Go to our website, check it out. There's a Zoom link. You can click on that. If you have questions, they'll be available to answer those questions. Just an update on our flare. We are still waiting the permits for the flare 3 we're calling this. This is our third. This is the one that we're trying to get installed as quickly as possible. We're still pending EPA approval. The AQMD and EPA are working through the comments and have been receiving during public period time. We will submit a permit application for a second flare, or another flare I should say, flare 4, as quickly as possible. We should have it in by the end of October, and then we'll go through that process, and hopefully we can get through much quicker with the AQMD on this next one. We're also finalizing the acquisition of another additional portable thermal oxidizer. Now, at the last meeting I talked to the group here about this thermal oxidizer. It's basically another type of flare, so it's able to pick up some of the gas and destroy some of the gas out in the field. We have a line on another one. We're hopeful to get that other one maybe the end of September, middle of October at the latest. We can get that on board and get that fired up. In addition to expanding our flaring capacity, we're also continuing to expand the gas collection capacity. We've already connected the 18 new wells that we started drilling back about a month ago when we were here. Those new wells are all in place. Most of those wells, or all of those wells, are connected. And we've also added probably another 6 wells since then. So we're getting more wells into the landfill face, into the working area, into the reaction area. We are also continuing to expanding our liquid collection system. We're installing dewatering pumps at some of the wells with the worst liquid issues in the reaction area. We had a handful of pumps in the system already, along with some collection systems that were getting the leachate and getting the water out of the landfill. We added another 10 in the last month, half a month or so that we've been doing this. And we have another 20 that we're going to be installing as soon as we get those wells. Like I said, the new ones are being drilled and connected, and as soon as we can justify the liquid levels in each one of those, so we can put the pumps in there and get that water out. The Department of Public Health directed us to retain a toxologist to consider the short-term and long-term health impacts of the current odor issues. The toxologist, the CTEH, has begun the review of our existing air monitoring and is beginning to evaluate the potential short-term and long-term health effects of the DMS and other constituents in the landfill gas, along with the sulfur compounds and the methane. Again, on Thursday, if you guys are interested in hearing what he has to say, he'll give his first update. He'll give you information on where he's at in the process, and you'll be able to ask questions at that time. We've already got an update from Bob on the community benefits issue, so I'm not going to go over that. We've also received some questions from the community on the county's request to reduce our tonnage intake. We've looked at it as far as the experts go. All the experts as far as the reaction area go, don't see any need at this point in time to reduce tonnage. It doesn't have any effect on the actual odors coming from the reaction area. It's also going to put a little bit of a tailspin into a lot of things that are going on within the county of LA and how disposal is handled. So at this point in time, we're still in negotiations and still talking with the county about the reduction. In conclusion, I'd just like to say to you guys that we are doing everything we can to stop this reaction, to stop the odors of getting into the neighborhood. Those are the first two things on the list, and getting this thing under control. That's our main priority. We have added more staff from our third-party consultants. We've added more staff from our own company. We've flown in at least 4 or 5 different operators that are actually working on this thing full-time along with the consultants. We're doing everything we can to stop the mitigation. We will continue to update the community, update this group, and put as much information on our website so we can be as transparent as we can. So if you guys visit the website, if you don't find something, or if there's a lot of information, there's going to be more. There's going to be a whole lot more, because we're going to have the AQMD reports, and it's a lot to go through. So be patient, go through what you need to, and find what you're looking for, but everything will be on there. With that, I'm complete for now.
Thank you. For those in the audience, you will have a chance to ask questions when we get through the other department's reports. Anybody on the committee that's yes, go ahead.
How are you today?
Okay, thank you.
Efforts to analyze the gas that you this person is thinking about
Oh, absolutely, yeah. From what we heard on the last meeting here, there's a list of more than 50, maybe up to 100 different parts, chemicals that they're looking for. And they'll be studying, yes, absolutely.
So, do you have any idea of what the percentage of the gas is methane?
That's not an easy question to answer, because there's different locations that you can pick up the methane. If you go to the flare operation, it's probably in the 35 to 39% range. If you're in the reaction area, it could be a lot lower. So depending on where you're getting the sample that you're taking, would be a big difference on what the methane level and concentrations are.
Yes, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, couple questions. Thank you. So I think folks are very interested in monitoring and assessing the actual progress that's happening. We know the AQMD has a list, I think you said it was 40 action items.
Yeah.
Is it possible for us to receive on a regular basis a listing report of every item and what's actually happened to date versus goal or progress on each of these items?
I might need a little more guidance on that, because there's a lot going on. I mean, I have lots of consultants that are doing different things behind the scenes. And then, of course, there's action on the landfill itself. The update that I have for you right now is the wells and the well installation, and connecting those wells and getting pumps into those. Right now, the main focus is dewatering the landfill so that we can get to the gas, remove the gas, and then destroy that. That's how we're gonna slow this reaction down.
I go back and emphasize that they'd like reassurance that all of this stuff is really happening, and to see it checked off and listed or percent complete, I think would be very helpful.
Yeah, and the challenge with that is it's ever changing, right? We're trying to read the hill itself, the mountain of trash that we have, to understand it even better. We're constantly sounding the wells to make sure the water levels are there, right? And going through the gas quality, quantity of what's going on in each and every well. There's over 80 wells in that area. So we're constantly looking at that thing, and we're adjusting on the fly to what the most important thing to do at this point in time, at any given time. So information that I give you on something like that may not be true 2 days from now. So it's very difficult to talk about that, or to give a checklist of things that we're doing.
Okay, second question. When we started talking about this more in depth a couple of months ago, you spoke
Gary,
of...
can you speak up, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You spoke of root cause analysis, what was actually driving this. And I think it's been determined, or the belief is that it's this sulfur compound that's causing this. As you've extracted water and waste products from these wells, has that confirmed the root cause analysis? Do we know for sure now that what you thought was causing this is in fact really causing the problem?
The root cause analysis that we were given to the AQMD was what is causing the odor. The reaction is causing the odors. We know that. That's what we're telling the AQMD. What's causing the reaction? We may never know. That's one of the things that SCS is investigating. We have a condition in the AQMD order to try and find what it is. We're even going to be drilling into the landfill and taking core samples. The only issue with the core samples is because the reaction is basically turning the trash basically into mush, right? It's turning into a kind of gray matter.
Right.
There's not a good way to determine what the trash was or what was disposed of down there when it's already been kind of decomposed and turned into mush, right? So it's going to be a very difficult challenge to come up with a answer to what caused the reaction. But what's causing the odor is the reaction.
Do we have a definitive solution? The definitive solution to this reaction?
Yes, the definitive solution is what I've been telling everybody. We need to remove the water and remove the gas. It'll cut down on the odors, it'll slow down the reaction, and over time, by continuing to do that, the reaction will slow down and cease.
I'm good, thank you. I have three, I hope, quick questions, just a clarification. So the groundwater extraction, so you can get down to the pure gas?
It's not groundwater.
Well, I mean, not groundwater, the water gets there, I misspoke on that. Do you have any kind of timeline as far as how long you think that's going to take?
Again, no.
Or a
but we're making
timeline that you're
progress.
aiming for?
Yes, we're aiming for yesterday, honestly, really. We want this thing to stop as much as anybody else, but no, I mean, it's all depending on the wells. The wells that are drilling into and we're extracting water from, as we pump that water out, we watch the levels of the water.
Right.
As it comes down, we start to get a good read on what we're having in that landfill. All right, with 10 new wells in there, an existing 15 or 20 around the area, another 20 that we may be putting in the next week or two, we're going to get a lot better information on where that water level is and how fast we can bring it down. Now, we have seen some good progress on a couple of wells that have gone down quite a bit. Other wells, not so much. We pumped them for a couple of weeks and the level is still at the same spot. So it's regenerating, but that's typical because you're looking at a landfill waste mass that has water in it, and as you empty a cylinder out, it will slowly refill that cylinder until it finally gets to a point where it's taking out the whole area of the water as it comes down. So we're seeing progress, but it's very early in the process.
So I know you can't give us a hard timeline, but are we talking days, weeks, months?
I can't tell you. I really don't know. The experts don't really know. Depending on what we can get out of this thing as quickly as possible.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we've heard months from some of the experts. We've heard years from other landfill experts that have done this at other locations.
Years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Call the question.
Let me do my answer too, and then you
I
follow.
thought you were there.
No, that was question number one.
Okay.
Question number two, and I didn't hear you, I was following along, I didn't hear you, you gave an update. As far as the covering that you were going to do, where are you with that? The plastic covering, or the.
Right. We need to get the wells installed before we can put the plastic cover up there, right? We want to get that water out, so getting the wells in, getting the pumps into the wells is priority one first. You can't do that with the plastic cover because you just ruin it with the equipment going over there to do that. So first off, we're getting the wells installed. That will be in the next couple of weeks. We'll have those in. Then the process is dewatering it, getting that landfill side slope back into the shape and ready for cover, and then the plastic cover will go on after that.
So just so I understand this completely, putting in the wells, getting the water out, doing the slope, then you would do the cover.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And I heard the moaning and groaning about the years, but honestly, we're hoping that we can get the odors taken care of much sooner, maybe within the next months.
Hold on,
Okay.
guys, please,
So-
hold on.
We're working on that. The reaction may take years, but the odors may not, all right? We might be able to get those under control as soon as we get the vacuum on the system, we get the new flare in place, and we start dewatering as well.
Okay, and then my last question, the additional testing that you're doing for other potential gases and other contaminants besides the dimethyl sulfide, is that testing just going to be on landfill property, or are you going to be testing in various locations in the community?
As SES reported last month, they're taking grab samples in the community. They have instruments and people out doing that on a regular basis at this point in time. It's all part of the AQMD order that we're doing that kind of stuff, and we're doing it on site. So we're knowing the intensity level on site, and we're finding out what it is in the community at this point in time.
Okay, that was my third question. You got a follow-up question, Gary?
May I ask, what's the total landfill staff currently working, and of that, how many specifically are working on the odor mitigation project?
Total landfill staff is 36. Working on the mitigation, I would say my staff would probably be 15 or 20, along with another 6 from out-of-state employees that came in, and then another 25 to 30 consultants and basically employees of the consultants.
Thank you.
Sandra, you got a follow-up?
Yes, if the problem is water, we just recently had a lot of rain at one time, when we had that, earthquake, okay? You also have some small micro, faults in the area.
Can you speak up?
I'm sorry. My concern is that, there's some micro faults in the area. I'm also concerned that we've had episodes of torrential downpours, and we're expecting another series of torrential downpours this winter. How is that going to affect your operation to stop this?
The landfill is designed to shed water, right? It's a 3 to 5% slope from top going to the outside edges. It sheds the water very well. This plastic cover we talked about will also shed the water. And the amount of rain that we got in the last year, or even with the Hurricane Hillary that came through, it's nothing compared to what's being produced inside the landfill. It is not, that rainwater is not getting in. It's coming out, it's going down into our basin as storm water. The landfill reaction is building and making its own water. I think Ray described it the best last meeting, is that it's something I've never seen before, but it's a reaction. That's what the reaction is doing, is They've got hydrogen molecules that are attaching to oxygen and creating H2O in the landfill. And that's what we need to slow down. We need to get that out of there. Takes away the heat, then it cools down the gas where we can pull the gas out, and it will stop and slow down the reaction.
So additional rain is not going to affect this at all?
It doesn't concern me right now. The cover material is good enough to shed the rain water.
All right, thank you, Steve. And once again, you will have a chance to ask questions when we get to the public comment part. Do we have, I'm going to on to the next part of the agenda, number 2. Do we have anybody here from SCS Engineers? Oh. Nope. Okay, so no update from. Okay. I do have one question I was going to ask the engineers, but maybe you can answer it, Steve. From our last meeting, I thought we had a discussion that on the 12 stationary testing monitoring sites that are testing for hydrogen sulfide, but not for the DMS, that we're looking into adding the ability for the permanent testing sites to test for that. Do you know the status on that?
I do not know the status on that, but I know they're working on it. I know
Okay.
that was part of it, yes.
All right, thank you. All right, moving, since they're not here, there's been follow-up questions on that. Moving to the next part of our agenda is AQMD, South Coast Air Quality Management District. We have with us Larry Israel that was here last month, and he'll give the update. I just want everybody to know that there was the hearing board for AQMD approved the order for abatement on after an 8.5-hour meeting. It was quite a short meeting.
I had nothing to do with it.
On September 6th, and Larry here, I'm sure that you'll give us an update on that meeting and what the abatement order means and what they're now required to do.
Just looking around. Can I see a show of hands who actually listened in and watched? Okay. So I don't need to explain anything.
You don't? No. I know about the 32 stops, you don't.
Everybody's an expert. Well, let me give you just an update on. We're up to about 2,400 since January, give or take. In August, we had over 1,100 odor complaints, and September, we're at about 400 right now. And total number of notices of violation for nuisance is around 64, 65. I'm not aware if Monday there was any.
I didn't hear either.
Yeah,
No
so
inspector.
I think we're at 64. Yeah, nobody came out. So, yeah, the hearing board, I want to talk about, just kind of give a perspective. This order, it can be considered like a work in progress, because we may go back to the drawing board on a few things and have to modify it. So we're going to see how this goes, and there's going to be progress hearings, and we may have to tweak it and add more things that we didn't think of first for later, or things that we don't need. But for the most part, though, it is something in place that we hope will mitigate the problem partially, completely, we don't know. I mean, this is not something that many people have experienced at other landfills that I'm aware of in Southern California as far as this type of reaction. So we're kind of in unknown territory there. We've had order for abatements at other landfills, including this landfill, and a lot of that seemed to work. But again, those conditions in that order for abatement are a lot different than they are in this. And what's impacting the community this time is a little different than what happened last time. So I just wanted to let you know that without going into too much details, because I think Steve Casulo kind of covered what those are. And you know, you can go to our website or their website. I think they just issued the actual final version. I don't even have the final version. I have the version that we used during the hearing. So there's a couple more conditions that were added to it. I know that there's been some concern or questions about staffing and our response this past couple weeks. I just wanted to address that before questions are asked. You're going to see a lot of new people out there responding to odor complaints during our normal working hours, our day working hours, Tuesday through Friday. Okay, basically, we have two inspectors who you've probably met, Christina and Gerardo Vergara. Christina Ojeda, everybody's getting a little burned out. And they're pretty much on going day and night on this. So we brought in other inspectors, volunteers from other groups at AQMD to respond during regular work hours. Since this is an ongoing public nuisance violation, if we don't respond at nighttime, don't think that it's being ignored. I mean, the landfill is going to have in place evening monitoring that hopefully will cover some of that. But I just want to tell you that for now, per upper management, there won't be inspectors responding after hours in the evening hours for the time being. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last, but that doesn't mean that you can't complain if you're detecting odors to either the landfill or AQMD. It's still going to be logged. It's still going to be followed up. So for example, if anybody here detects odors tonight and calls the 800 number, you will get a call back tonight. Somebody is assigned to follow up on the evening hours. Maybe not 2 o'clock in the morning, but up until midnight, you should be receiving a follow-up call. Okay, the same thing occurs on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. We're not going to be doing surveillance as we have for the last couple months, and that was a decision from upper management. Because it's already an established nuisance, it's not going to do any real benefit to the big picture for us to be doing that. So Monday through Friday during normal work hours, 7 to 5:30, 3 calls in an hour on Mondays, I should say, and then any other time we will be responding to your complaints and issuing notices of violation. Now there's some conditions in here I think some people might have regarding 3 weeks if there are no violations issued for nuisance, or if the odor threshold, and there's a scale in the, or a chart in the order from 1 to 5, so or 0 to 5. So basically, if it's above a light odor and there are notices of violation, the landfill will be able to suspend their surveillance of the community. And if during that period, after that 3-week period, if they get another violation, they'll go back to it, or if the odors come back to above 2 on that 0 to 5 scale. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that. And that's my report.
Anybody on the committee have a question for Larry? Yes, go ahead.
Quick question. From experience, is there any indication that the odors may vary by season or temperature on the outside? Or is this all internal deep down in the landfill? Is there any relief by winter?
Yes. How many people experienced this past winter when the winds were blowing from the north and there were no problems for months at a time? Okay, so some of you know that the wind is going to shift. And we don't expect during Santa Ana wind conditions, which could be coming up any time now, winds from the north, that they'll be impacting the community. So right now, when the winds are unfavorable from the south, southeast, depending if you live in the Val Verde area, or from north to southwest, if you live in Live Oak, or even Hasley Hills, you're likely to smell odors as long as this reaction is occurring. Relief, Mother Nature. Rain conditions, although I think we got complaints on the hurricane odor.
Yeah.
Hurricane and windstorm.
It didn't go too good.
Yeah, I don't want to consider that, but I don't know if that answers your question, but we've gotten, and I did testify to a lot of different odors. I myself have been detecting almost a sour milk odor. Other residents have been detecting rotten egg, some people describing trash, chemical odors, Febreze odors, just pungent odors. And there's a wide variety, and it could be directly from the reaction. It could be also other things that the gases are bringing up to the surface and that what's coming into the community. So I don't want to say there's just one type of odor. Does that answer your question?
It helps, thank you.
Helps.
Yes, you got a question?
Yeah, just kind of a comment too. Well, wind from the north might ameliorate the problem for this community. There is now another community directly to the south that would also be impacted. So it's just, we learned this with Aliso Canyon, that they were all excited when the wind came from the south, and then we realized the methane was being blown into Stevenson Ranch.
Did you have to mention Elisa? Because I'm the one who discovered that problem. I don't want to take credit for that. Yes, you're correct on that. We were getting complaints all the way out in Chatsworth, the whole area. We have gotten some complaints from Stevenson Ranch. I don't believe any have been verified, but I'm aware of a number of them that have come through. You know, as I said, this is something that's new to all of us, so we'll handle it as we can.
I was actually thinking of the new houses at 5 Points.
Where's
They're
5 Points?
directly,
I don't know.
it's,
where that
it's
is.
on the other side of the
Behind
street.
Magic Mountain.
Oh, is that the, what you can see from the front entrance of the landfill, that
On
huge
the other
housing?
side of the street, yes.
Okay.
That's it. They are?
Is anybody from there?
No, they think it's their water reclamation.
They'll be here soon.
There is a big reclamation plan. LA County has a big water reclamation plan, solids and liquids. We won't go into any more detail than that. But yeah, it's a large facility. And so that is pretty close to them, correct?
May I add a comment?
Sure.
I have a business that's located in the Castaic Industrial Center on Witherspoon, and I hear in the mornings that our staff smells it in the parking lot when they're parking. When I was driving here along the 126 at about
Gary,
5.
speak up, please.
Excuse me. Our staff smells the odors on site in the Castaic Business Park in the morning. On the 126 today, I noticed driving into this meeting that there was odors right off the 126. as
Okay.
well.
And of course, this person's at the industrial complex called AQMD to complain?
No, they did not.
Okay, well,
But
You
they
can call
can.
us.
We can put that notice out. But
yeah. I mean, that's businesses, doesn't have to be single-family residences. We get a lot of complaints from businesses too, not necessarily for this landfill, but for other sources, whether it be landfills, any type of facility that generates odors in the community. So, 1-800-CUT-SMOG.
1-800.
Oh, CUT-SMOG is 288-7664. So you don't have to think.
Or see.
So I just do have one quick question. I know that in the press release, it states, maintain and update on a weekly basis an odor mitigation section on the landfill's website, chiquitacanyon.com/report/odor-mitigation. So that's where people should go, Larry, to see what's going on, or should they go to AQMD website also?
They can go to both.
Okay.
If it's in the order, then that is something that they want, the hearing board wants out there to the public right away.
Right, so if people want to see the order for abatement, is the best place to see that, to find it, would be on the AQMD website?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I do suggest people go to the website to see what the stipulation order is, because it's not only very concise in what needs to be done, but it's also very concise in timelines. And the other thing that I just want to bring up, and I think it's very important that you hear what Larry said, conduct odor surveillance at least twice daily during operating hours at 32 locations around the landfill until a 3-week period passes without receiving a notice of violation. If South Coast AQMD issues a subsequent NOV, odor surveillance would resume. For them to do an NOV, they need to follow up on a complaint. So if you think everybody else is complaining and you've complained enough and you stop it, then they're not going to get the complaints. It will be much easier for a period of time to go by where there's not an NOV, and then the testing goes down. So I just want everybody to understand that even though you've complained once, you've complained twice, it's every morning at 9 o'clock, by following up the complaints, it allows them to follow to see if they need to do an NOV. If they're not getting complaints, they're not doing the notice of violation. So that's very important. Just wanted to point that out.
Bob, can I just clarify, it's not any testing that's going to be stopping? It's just the odor surveillance team going out and checking if there's odor.
Right.
The testing will still continue.
Thank you for that clarification. But I'm just saying it's very important.
Yeah, I think if you're being impacted, we want to hear from you, okay? If we don't hear from you, then we have no reason to be going out doing surveillance, looking for odors. So it's important for you to communicate to either the landfill or AQMD how you're being impacted, if you're being impacted by odors.
I was told there was 98 calls today alone.
Questions will be after we get to the agenda.
It wasn't a question, it was just.
Well, question or comments from the audience will be, we'll get public comments. It's just so we can get the meeting done in time. Thank you.
Quick, one last question, sorry. 60+ notice of violations. Where do these ultimately lead? When it's 100, 200, 300, to what effect are these notices of violation? Here we still are, racking up notices of violation. Where does it lead?
Well, I'm just an inspector, supervising inspector. I don't, that'll be decided upon our legal division, how they disposition notices of violation. So I can't really say what's going to happen to that number, or if they get 20 more, if that has any specific bearing. So I can't really answer that. You don't look satisfied.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Any violation is unacceptable. I think the landfill will be the first to say that. But I can't tell you, what are we going to do with it? You'd have to speak to somebody in our general counsel for that.
The very least that has happened with people coming in here and complaining and talking and racking up those NOVs is it went to the supervisor who has started some stuff on her side. That's one of the things that's happened. It's an independent task force.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments from the committee? If not, I'm going to move the agenda to our next item. Thank you, Larry. And there may be more questions for Larry when we take public comment. All right, next on the agenda item is Public Works. And Nikki, in order to get through Public Works, Public Health, LEA, and regional planning, are we going to kind of mush them all together? Okay, so the only thing that I would ask from the county departments, if you are giving us an update from last meeting and something that's going forward, please state your name, what department you're with, and if you can just briefly, what's your jurisdiction in regards to the landfill, and then give your report. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Can I get a show of hands for who was here last time, just to get a sense of, okay, terrific, but we have a lot of new people actually attending tonight's meeting. Our goal tonight from the county is to get your questions answered. So if you're new and you're missing something from last time, please, we'll be here. This is the county team. This is the county task force that was commissioned by Supervisor Barger. And she's put us together to serve you. And getting your questions answered is the #1 priority. So for those of you who are new, you might have missed last time, we're here to answer your questions. If you can't answer a question, we will go ahead and take those questions back, try to get and formulate answers, and we'll work through Bob. And we'll be here next month if you want to see us again. So my name is Mickey Esposito. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works. I'm the representative for the county task force. This is our team, and it includes public health, public works, regional planning. Our county council is here, as well as SD5. We meet 2 times a week and have various additional action meetings in order to help address and resolve this issue. We're working very closely with Chiquita. We're working very closely with AQMD. We're also working with the board to make sure that they're establishing, supervisor established a mitigation fund to assist with this issue. So tonight I want to do some quick updates from each of the team members. You'll get an understanding of who they are and what they do with respect to regulation at the landfill. And then they'll provide an update from the last meeting we have, but there's gonna be gaps for those of you who are new. So again, if you have those questions, we're here to answer them. All right, with that, I'll turn it
I'm
to.
going to interrupt you just for a second. I know some people came in after the meeting started. You will have the opportunity to ask questions. We're going to go through the agenda all the way through to agenda item 7, and then we'll have public comments and questions. And if you do want to make a public comment and question, if you haven't done so already, you do need to fill out a request to speak form. So I know I don't want people to get frustrated that somebody is saying something and you have a question we're not going to let those questions happen until we get to public comments, so we can get the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, that way everybody gets to ask their questions. Okay, so we'll start with Public Works. This is Emiko Thompson. Emiko, can you give them an update?
Sure. Good evening, I'm Emiko Thompson, Assistant Deputy Director with Public Works. So one of the most effective ways to mitigate the odors is to collect the gas and the liquid. So one of Public Works' primary roles is to ensure that we have engineering systems in place to adequately and safely collect the gas and the liquid. So for example, we've made it a very high priority to make sure that we expeditiously review the permit applications that we receive from Chiquita to, for example, install a new permanent flare. And as you've heard, the approval is currently with the EPA. We've also heard tonight that Chiquita will be applying for another flare later on this year. So we will make every effort to expedite our reviews so that we can get the flare installed quickly to help manage the gas. And one other quick thing is that we have, we'll be looking at the overall leachate for liquid collection system. As we've heard, it's gas and liquid that will make the biggest difference in mitigating the odors. So we're going to look at a comprehensive overlay of the liquid collection system at the landfill to make sure that it's robust enough to collect all of the liquid that's being generated as a result of the reaction. And that's my update.
Right. So this is our infrastructure arm, our technical arm. Okay, that's Public Works. Public Health? Yeah.
So good evening, my name is Lisa Frias and I'm the Director of Environmental Health. You had Raul Sobrero who came to you last time and provided the public health update. Within environmental health, we have the Office of Environmental Justice and Climate Health, and we also have the LA program. So my update from last week is we have actually contracted with a contractor that will be reviewing CTEH's report to evaluate both the short and long-term health impacts as a result of this. So we have a third party, separate entity that will be looking at the data, will be providing us with the information. We'll be looking at the scope of work to make sure that it aligns with what we need to be able to come back to you and then be able to communicate on any potential short or long-term impacts. So that's our role from that perspective. And then I'll turn it over to Shakari to talk about the LEA's role.
Thank you, Lisa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shikari Nakagawa Ota. So I'm representing the LA County Local Enforcement Agency, LEA. So we have a delegated state authority to enforce the state minimum standards for landfill operations. So we are independent from the local governing body, which is the county. So as I reported last month, we conduct a monthly inspection at the landfill. And on September 1st, following the notification from Chiquita that exceedances on methane gas is detected, we conducted a focused inspection and we verified that methane exceedances of 7.3% by volume at one of the parameter wells, GP13, at the depth interval of 173 feet. So basically the landfill gas monitoring well, it's outside of the waste footprint to make sure that operator is monitoring that methane level at the dangerous level is not migrating outside, closer to you. So that's what they monitor, and we monitor that too. So based on the violation, we will be issuing a report, and we directed Chiquita to submit the remediation plan to bring down the methane concentration. And they are making a notification to the LEA. So as of last Thursday, we received a notification that it went down to 4.9%, which is less than 5%, which is the threshold. because that is the lower explosive limit for methane gas. So we will keep you posted on that. Regarding Cal Recycle review, we requested of the data files provided by Chiquita. Preliminary review was completed last week. So the supervising team at Cal Recycle, which is a state agency, is reviewing the final review. And when they're ready, they will be issuing the findings and the results of the analysis to the LEA. So once it becomes available, we will be sharing it with all the county agencies in AKMD and Chiquita.
Great.
Thank you.
So just a couple of notes. A lot of independent review and oversight happens at the county. We are working on your behalf. So when Chiquita's information comes in, we have to verify their work, that they did the work, that they are keeping the promises that they're making to the community, and that we are overseeing that work. So a couple of independent reviews that we talked about, we have our own environmental health specialist that has been procured to oversee the work of the toxicologist. That oversight is very important. We want to make sure that whoever Chiquita is hiring is providing you with good, credible information. Also, there'll be an independent review through Cal Recycle of the root cause analysis, so that we can get a real understanding, not just what is causing the odor, as Steve was sharing, but also what's causing the chemical reaction. And that independence and objectivity is really important as we represent this community. So next I want to invite Alex from Regional Planning, Alex Garcia, to share his role and also an update.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Alex Garcia. I am the Assistant Deputy Director for the Land Use Regulation Division for the Los Angeles County Department of Regional Planning. What our main role is, we are the holders of the conditional use permit, which is the application that includes conditions that regulate the landfill. Our main role is to coordinate compliance with all the other regulatory agencies for these conditions that are included in this permit, and they're associated with all the regulatory agencies. Another one of our roles is to serve as the enforcement mechanism anytime there is any enforcement action that's needed. So like Mickey said, we meet regularly. In those meetings, we decide collectively whether or not we need to move forward with an enforcement action. Just recently on August 18th, we issued a notice of violation to the landfill in violation of condition number 12 and 63, which relate to odor issues. With respect to our roles, we also are authorized to review and assess any type of land use applications or proposals, as well as conditional use permit modifications. As you may know, there was a settlement agreement that was recently approved, but the applicability of that settlement agreement is not final until a conditional use permit modification is approved. At this time, there's a conditional use permit application that's in process, and the hearing date is not yet set. So once that's set, we will let you know, and then you can also provide comments for that process as well. The last piece of information that I have for you is that, like Bob alluded to, there's an effort from the county, LA County Development Authority is developing a program, a monetary relief program. It's actually called, they just named it today. I was in a meeting before this meeting. The domain name is Chiquita Canyon Landfill Relief.lacda.org. That's the domain name. That website is actually going to be in operation as early as tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I encourage you to look to log in, check to see if there's any additional information. The program it's in its infancy stages, like Bob said. It doesn't have a lot of details right now. They're still developing. They're going to continue. LACDA is continuing to develop guidelines and materials for this program for you to go in and apply for those monetary assistance. The monetary assistance is going to be basically for utility costs and property rehab costs for the residents in the area.
Can you repeat the website?
Yeah, I will repeat the website. It's called Chiquita Canyon Landfill Relief.lacda.org. Once again, it's Chiquita Canyon Landfill Relief.lacda.org. As I said, LACDA is the grant administrator for this program. they will continue to develop guidelines and materials for this program. And I encourage you to continue to go back and check to see if there's any new information for this program. I'll repeat it again. I know there's some whispering, maybe you didn't get it. Chiquita Canyon Landfill Relief.lacda.org. And just to give you a sneak peek, according to the discussions we had today, the website is probably going to be completely full of content by September 25th, the week of September 25th. And then there's also going to be some more outreach documents and information that's going to be pumped out by LACDA through postcards, emails, and the website.
That's great, and we'll work through Bob to get that information so that he can get that to you. I want you just to know that the architect of that mitigation fund is your supervisor. She cares deeply about you and this issue. She and her staff, through their leadership, all right, Bob, that's the updates from us. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Any comments or questions from the committee? Go ahead, Garrett.
Yeah. First of all, I want to commend the county for getting that fund almost done. It's like done, but just some icing on the cake. That's one of the first things we've heard in these meetings where something tangible has gotten done, like done, in the can done. My comment is a comment and kind of a question. I think everyone in this room has heard so often, we will be doing, or we are going to, and it seems like so many things are at an undetermined time in the future. And I believe the suffering is quite serious and tangible and aggravating to no end. So the question I have is, what are we doing to make sure that the we will be doing is the we got done as soon as possible? How are we expediting the we got each one of these we will be doing done? Vague question, but I think it's an emotion that a lot of people feel.
You know, I'm embarrassed to say that sometimes government moves at the speed of government. And that's not exactly an acceptable excuse. So what we have done as a task force is bring a lot of intentionality to how often we meet to make sure we are checking off our to-do list. And sometimes there's small wins, like creating this relationship with AQMD so that we can get that flare built as soon as possible, so that they can get through their permitting and expediting that. We did that through building and safety. We expedited through Public Works our review of the foundation that was needed for the flare. Done. But we've got to now get through the milestone of EPA and AQMD, who have a public process. And that public process is important. That public process is like this, where you have a voice in what is built. We don't want to bypass that. So sometimes you gotta go slow to go fast. And the flare is an example of that. Now we're really close. Last week, Friday, was the end of the public comment period for the flare. EPA is now doing, I think, simultaneous reviews alongside AQMD, who is responding to public comment. So we're very hopeful that that milestone is going to get checked off, because it's a big solve for this issue, for the odor. But all I can tell you is
We have a lot of processes in place. Some we can get around and expedite, and some we really rather shouldn't, especially when public comment is involved. But our intention is to work diligently and as quickly as possible and to show up every month with you, to answer these questions, to be here with you. We know that you're suffering. It hurts us that you're suffering, and you can see it in our actions to make sure there's a mitigation component. But we're just doing the best that we can with what processes we have. And that's all I can answer. We can certainly, you asked about a to-do list and to-done list. We can come with that at the next meeting. We can share with you what the to-dones are. If it helps, we can track that.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yes, Sandra, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, this is actually going back to Larry, to ask you a quick question. Are there any air quality effects from these flares?
Air quality effects?
Yes.
You mean health?
Health-wise, do the flares put noxious anything into the air?
Well, the flares are designed to destruct, and they're rated at a certain efficiency, 99.97, whatever percent it is. And so to ensure that that occurs, the flares are tested or source tested every year. The new flare will have the same provision. And typically they do meet that requirement. As far as adverse health effects, I can't answer that. But their design is to destruct any type of air contaminant.
Nope, good. All right, I have one question and then I have a request. So my one question is for, but it's for 3 different agencies, Public Health, and then the Local Enforcement Agency of Public Health, and also Regional Planning. So when you find something that is out of compliance with the CUP or a violation of Cal recycling and so forth, I know that on the landfill's website and also on AQMD, you can see what the violation is, what they're saying they're out of compliance. With the oversight that you guys have, do you post that information, and if so, where can that be found?
Right. Yeah, I'll take, there's 2 definitely to answer. So with respect to the role that public health has, we don't have any regulatory oversight from the health kind of impacts perspective. But from the LEA perspective, yes, all of those reports are actually available and posted, but they're posted on the state's website. I don't know, Shakari, if you've shared the state's
Yes,
website. Okay.
last time, following the last meeting, I emailed IVEST the link for the Swiss Solid Waste Information System website. So all you do is you go into CalRecycle Swiss search engine, and you can just type in Chiquita, then you can just click on it, and there are so many inspection reports and other documents listed for public view.
Okay, and then.
Yes, this is correct. For the Department of Regional Planning, we have a webpage. I think Yvette might have more information, but she will post any notice violations on our website, and she can also provide you with the webpage.
Yeah, so that link that Shakari just mentioned is on our website already, so I can point that.
Okay, so here's my request, because as you can see, just 3 people talking, I have to go to 3 different websites to find possibly 3 different pieces of information, and that doesn't include AQMD. My request, and if it's a consensus of the committee, is that whether it's on the landfill website, whether it's on one of the county websites, not all the information, but what I would call as a cheat sheet that says, that provides the name and the link, so that I don't have to go to 3 or 4 different websites to try to find the information that says local enforcement agency, you have their website, click on this link, or violations, click on this link, regional planning's at this link, public health is this link, AQMD is this link, et cetera,
but it starts at one page where it's all listed, so that at least when even somebody on the committee is looking, where can I find that information? It really is a twisted vine of all the different websites you have to go to try to find out if you found the information. So my request tonight, and I'm not sure who would coordinate this, even if it's our committee's website where it finally ends up, one place, one stop, where we can get links to the other links.
Yes, that's a great suggestion, Bob. We will make that happen. All the links are on the Department of Regional Planning site now, but we're gonna do one better. We're gonna make it a one-pager with everything under the sun that we can think of. And then once we create that one-pager with the phone numbers, the links, the agencies, the everything, we will send a hard copy and make sure that gets disseminated through the community. But it will be online under DRP, which I think they have everything there now. I just don't know how easy. I think a one page that people,
Right.
instead of searching, because you're right, the county sites can be click here, then click there. We'll send you to DRP and we'll call it a one page for Chiquita Canyon landfill information. But if you're looking for SCS engineering, or you're looking for Steve Casulo, or whatever it is, you'll find it on that one page. Give us a week or two.
Sure.
I don't think we need any more time than that, and we'll make that happen.
Great, that would be terrific, that would make life so much easier. I commend all the different departments fulfilling their duties of doing that, but it's like disseminating the information, is it happening? And the second part is there a complaint or is there a violation? How do I find out what's going on? And not having to try to figure out which website I go for which information. And as the chair of the committee, I find it confusing and I'm preparing meetings, you know, so I can understand somebody that's not at these meetings understanding it. So thank you, Stephanie.
And it is complicated because, again, it's county, state.
Right, I
and
get that.
Like, Shikari's a county employee, but she's operating as a state contracted person. So she's working for the state, basically. So it does get very confusing. So we will make that as clear as possible. We'll send it to you, and we can keep it as a living document. So if you all come back here and say, I don't understand what this means, or how to get a hold of this person or this agency, we'll keep it in progress.
That would be terrific. I think that would be so beneficial, I know, to the committee, but also to the community. So thank you. Thank you for that. Anybody else have any other questions or comments?
I think we should also copy it onto our website.
Well,
On our
Let's get it done first.
yeah. We'll have a link to the link. But yes, you're absolutely right. All right, so that is the reports that we're getting this evening. It is 7:15. We have to be out of here by 8 o'clock. We are now to the point where we're going to ask for public comments. I have, well, it's unusual. I have from some people multiple requests for different agenda items. I am going to ask, so everybody has an opportunity to get their comment or question asked, that we are going to keep the time limit to around 1 minute per comment. If we get through all the comments and people have more comments, then we can continue, but you do need to fill out a form to request it. And once again, what will happen is you make your comment. If you have a question, the appropriate department will attempt to answer your question and possibly do a brief, you have a chance for a brief follow-up, and then we'll go to the next person. The first person that I'm going to call up, and I'm in the order that I'm getting the comment list, is Abigail DeSessa. And Abigail has comments on 3 different sections, so we'll probably go.
Does she get 3 minutes or 1 minute?
No, she does not get 3 minutes.
Okay, speed reading. Public Works, please provide a summary of the data collected for the past 2 months and why hasn't Public Health issued any violations? Public Health did with Porter Ranch lease of gas. Regional Planning, I respectfully request the County of Los Angeles stop approving new homes and housing developments in the shadow of Chiquita Canyon landfill. You are only placing more residents in harm's way for the opportunity to collect more property taxes. Stop putting money over humans. And public comment. I respectfully request the County of Los Angeles waive property taxes for this year for the people who have been confirmed as having odors and landfill gases at their homes. It is wrong to keep charging us property taxes for properties we cannot use due to the county approving this landfill so close to our homes.
Stay up there, stay up there. So I'll go through this real quickly because I have the same things. The first one, summary of your data collection for the past 2 months, and that was for
I thought you said public works.
Public health. Public health's been collecting data on us for 2 months. What do you got?
Yeah, so actually the contractor to review the information was just hired on, and so they're looking at the scope of work. So yeah, so they're looking at the data right now as we speak. With respect to, you had mentioned Aliso. So I just want to make sure, we don't have any regulatory authority over Aliso. At that point in time, there was a public health nuisance that was declared. And I think county council at that point in time took action, right? And that was a different situation than actually that we have here with the landfill. So at that point in time, at least, I mean, as far as the chemicals that are being released, Aliso was releasing different chemicals and what is currently being released through the landfill. So DMS is completely different. So I just want to make sure that we're looking at that right now.
Y'all heard that, right?
Yeah, it's different what we're breathing.
But we're
okay.
sick.
All right, the next question is requesting stop approving new homes and housing developments in the shadow of the landfill. Does anybody want to respond to that or just take
I would just say that's you know, that has to go through legal processes and permitting. That's kind of off subject for this immediate need right now, but that would involve, you know, a whole legal process where a developer has the right to build a project, and I understand the request, but that's a complex issue that I think that would have to be taken on the side. And the projects that have been approved, although one has recently been appealed and will come back to the board, Sterling Ranch, you know, that's already well through the process. They probably won't build that project won't see the light of day in terms of the actual development for the next 2, 3, 4 years. So we'll certainly be through this process that way.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Susie Evans speaking on air filters, and if you also want to say something about new housing approval.
Yeah, air filters. We did not have to sign any waivers to get ours. A friend of mine tried to get one and she was told she had to sign a waiver. She lives in Lytle. True or false?
No, not true. All you do is fill out a form to accept it.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, I'll let her know. Secondly is the Sterling Ranch Estates have been trying to get their houses done for 20-some years. And at the regional planning meeting, it was brought up of this entire problem with the dump. And people cut us off from saying anything, and they still approved it. 221 houses, and don't tell me it's not going to see the light of day, because I know Sterling is not going to give up.
I didn't say it wouldn't see the light of day. I said that those projects take time to develop. So
He's been trying for 20 years.
By the time you see houses being developed,
Hopefully I'm dead.
depending on the appeal and that process, it's going to be a couple, 3 years.
That's still too.
The landfill isn't gonna close.
Yeah, you guys are not going to close the landfill.
Susie, I was just correcting how you quoted me. That's it.
Okay. The landfill is not going to be closed. We know this. Why are we approving housing in the swath of the smells? How's that for a question?
Somebody throwing money at
I think we already answered that.
Oh, okay.
All right, the next person signed up to speak is David Helenas.
Alanis.
Did I say it wrong? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Alanis.
Okay.
One of the questions I have is anybody collecting any kind of data on people's health, migraines, vertigo, all that stuff? Is that being collected as well?
Yeah, so
And
the
who's
Department of
collecting?
Public Health is actually collecting data that we've received from all of you. So as calls are coming in, you probably have spoken to Alberta, who is our public health nurse. And so we are actually tracking all the symptoms and the complaints that are coming into us.
Okay. How long has that been being tracked?
I don't have the exact date, but it was when the NOVs came to our attention. I'm thinking probably early June, July.
Just of this year?
Yeah, just
So
of
it's
this year.
only
That's
started
the
being
only
collected?
time that we were actually notified about this issue. So that's when we started tracking the complaints.
Oh, okay. And it can be done on the website when you,
Yeah, we actually had provided an email address through regional planning, I think through your email address. So all the complaints are coming through regional planning, and then they refer them over to us, and then we get in contact with the constituent that's calling us up.
okay. And then the $2 million grant that I'm sure, or that is going on, are they gonna make residents sign some kind of waiver that they're waiving any rights if they take money from that?
Well, I mean, that's, again, protocol is being developed, as something Bob indicated earlier. We do have the funding secured. What LAGDA, which is LA County Development Authority, is going to be the body that's going to be administering the grant program. So once the full protocol and the implementation is in place, the public is going to be notified exactly what's going to be required. I'm not aware of any waiver, but I don't want to say right now without consulting with somebody from LACTA who's putting together that process.
Okay. Right. Those are the only questions I have.
We'll take that question.
I do have a follow-up question. So, public health, so there is a place where people can go and let you know the health problems they're having based upon the exposure?
Yeah, what we've been actually seeing is emails are coming in through the regional planning email, and they're identifying their concerns, like I'm getting headaches, or I'm nauseated, I'm having respiratory issues, and so they provide their contact information. Our public health nurse then contacts them and speaks to them, and so all of that is being tabulated. We're keeping an eye on everything that's coming in.
So maybe when we make this one page
Yeah, we
list
can
of
include
here
that
you go, that it's very clear, here's where you record health problems.
That's correct.
And Bob, the list that I have previously sent out to the community and to this committee includes that link, but yes, we will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you go back and look at your.
Wasn't clear to me, so.
It's where it says AQMD and Chiquita Canyon and regional planning. I sent out something many weeks ago. It has the DPH site to report health concerns, and we're encouraging people to do that. But yes, we will absolutely include that on our one pager.
Terrific. Thank you.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
At this point, might it not be wise to conduct a more formal home-by-home health survey?
More what, Gary? I didn't hear you.
More formal home-by-home health survey rather than depending upon emails to randomly come in.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely take that information down. Right now, we do have a health consultant that has been retained by the county. We can touch base with them, see whether or not they feel that that might be a good approach, and we can report back next time.
And I would hope that there'd also be, when people are being interviewed, anecdotal history, not just current problem, but also collecting anecdotal histories. How long has this been going on?
All right, our next request to speak is Jessica from Source Chambers.
Hi there, I've got a couple questions, and I just put it in telephone because we were just
That's fine.
talking about this in part. So, the first question, public health, a lot of us have been attributing allergies to the symptoms or thinking that there's something wrong there. So I really think that home by home, because as neighbors get together, we didn't realize that we were all suffering from the same, and we were thinking of something else. So I think that that is absolutely necessary. With regards to the plastic, you said that you can't put the plastic in, this is for you, Steve, until you guys can take out the water. So if you can't take out the water, you're not putting down the plastic for the watershed?
We are not putting the plastic until we can get the wells put in.
Until the wells get put in?
Right, the wells need to go in because of the equipment that has to be in the area where the plastic would go down. So the wells go in, pumps go into the wells, we start lining that all up, getting the water out. After that, the plastic then can go up.
Okay, got it, understood now. And then, sorry, going to the next one. AQMD, you're getting notices every day, but are you issuing violations every day? are violations only being attributed once they're confirmed by you guys? And if so, with you guys not coming out to get it because of staff, are they not going to be getting NOVs, or how is that working?
Violations are only issued for violations of the OA conditions. I just want to put that out there. But when we've confirmed 6 complaints in a 24-hour period with the residents.
With regards to, I know there was 3 teachers or administrators that worked at Live Oak. They all called in a complaint last week. Were those confirmed? And with that being, do they count the entire staff and the children that were present? Because none of them were actually, I don't know if they got talked or confirmed.
Okay, I was in a jury trial most of last week, so I don't know exactly. I know that there was at least a complaint from a parent at Live Oak. But our policy is if we receive a complaint, whether from a parent or an administrator, faculty, from a school, we will go to the school. And if we verify odors on campus with the faculty member, one member, and there is children present, it's an automatic public nuisance violation with one.
Now, if they're
not a parent, though.
If they're not happening, if they're not coming to verify until after school hours are gone and now the children are gone, does that not count?
You know, I don't want to deal in hypotheticals. Typically, we get the complaints from faculty members. That's generally from how it's been.
So 3 faculty members called.
Oh, see, but I don't have an answer for that.
And so from my understanding is nobody came and verified with any of them.
Okay. What day of the week was that?
I believe it was Tuesday of last week or Monday of last week.
Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah. And I can give you the names of them as well.
It was Live Oak.
Yes, Live Oak Elementary. So I live 35 feet from the fence. And I know my complaints have been verified at the fence line of the school, but that doesn't count, even though the school is there.
Well, it doesn't really matter where you stand. Just if we go out and verify with you, we're able to meet you, you know, and
we're at the school site when we get verified.
Okay, are you a parent or a faculty member?
Neither.
A human.
I'm a human that lives.
Okay, it has to be from a school person, so faculty member on campus. Okay. I mean, we'll investigate a complaint that you call in, but even if you're in the vicinity of the school, it doesn't count.
Even if we're on
as being
school
from
premises
the
when we get
school.
verified?
Pardon
Okay.
me? Yeah.
Okay.
Let's not split hairs with it.
25 feet, you guys. Okay. Now, are you trying to get orders because there's stuff online staying from Valencia West Creek over by those schools? Because on next door we're seeing that. So are you starting to get those verified, or are you not getting enough calls?
I'm sorry, what was?
Valencia West Creek, over in Valencia. It's the area kind of off of Copper Hill and Creek. So there have been people complaining online. Some have called AQMD. Are you getting enough calls from that area to be able to issue?
Or
to be able to go out to verify?
calls.
No, I mean to go out and verify, because you said it takes 6 calls to go out to verify?
Yeah, well, they must have been recent because I'm usually in tune with who's calling, but I have not, I've been out of the picture since last Wednesday. So if it's been that recent, I'm not aware of that community receiving complaints before last week. So if it's since last week, that's news to me.
Okay. And then why is only 2.5 being released for the funds when it's supposed to be, I believe, $1 per tonnage that's going in, and they've been operating for 6 years? I want to know why only 2.5 is being released.
So to answer your question,
Can you speak up? It's kind of hard to hear you.
To answer your question, okay, or actually, can you repeat your question again?
So 2.5 is being released. From our understanding, $1 per tonnage of what the Chiquita landfill submits and puts into that fund is supposed to be there. So why is only 2.5 being released when 2.5 is nowhere near enough to be able to address the number of homes that are in the area to get whatever they need?
Sure. So the CUP was approved in 2017, and right after the lawsuit was filed by Chiquita. So we're in litigation for about 3 years until the trial court ruled on the issue. So county prevailed on the operating conditions. Chiquita prevailed primarily on the fees. So what was collected up to that part, like about 3 years worth of fees, was what was in the community benefit fund. Now, I want to the court, in the court's ruling, the trial court, invalidated the community benefit fund fee, right? So as part of the settlement agreement with Chiquita, we agreed that Chiquita would waive its right to all the community benefit funds that are currently in the county's possession, and we will release those funds to the community. So that's the part of the money that's being released. So between the period of June of 2020, when the trial court ruling came in, and the time we were working out a settlement agreement, there were no payments. Payments to the community benefit fund were suspended because they were invalidated by the court. So, you know, as I said, once the settlement agreement is structured in a way that is conditional upon planning commission's approval of a modified CUP. Once the modified CUP is approved, if the planning commission approves it, and is subject to public hearing process, then the community benefit fund is going to start getting replenished at a higher rate, because what County and Chiquita negotiated as part of the settlement agreement was an increase in the community benefit fund fee, which obviously is going to start getting replenished and is going to be poured into the fund once the CUP goes back before the planning commission and considering it is approved as proposed in the settlement agreement. So to answer your question.
Thank you. Last question for public health. With what happened with the SoCal Gas Company, people were being relocated within 2 months. We have people that have been sick and are severely sick. Is there any way that we can find some kind of relief for those that are so sick that they can't actually stay in their homes?
So, good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Nicole Quick. I am a Deputy Director of Public Health for Health Protection, which has environmental health under it. As far as relocation, that's not actually within the purview of public health, but I wanted to give a little bit more update on what we actually are going to be doing with the independent health consultant that we have hired. So it was mentioned earlier, and you have heard Chiquita speak about their CTEA, who is a toxicologist that's going to look at all of the data that's coming out of the gas collection system, community monitoring, and so forth, and sort of assess what might be the short-term and long-term health impacts of this odor event. Our independent consultant is going to be overseeing that sort of process, review of all of the data. So it came up before about what it would look like. That's really the first step in the health assessment, is to look at all of the data from the monitoring. That includes compounds such as methane, it includes all of the sulfur compounds, it includes the expanded compounds, the VOCs, everything that might be coming out to get sort of a sense of what might be reaching community. As far as relocation, that is not something that is under public health as far as the purview. That would be something that would be worked through under sort of a different authority, but I did want to offer that perspective on what we're doing with the health assessment.
So then a follow-up to that question, can anyone here in this room answer what department or who we need to speak with about relocation for those people that are really, really sick? Stephanie, would you have any idea of who actually handled the relocation?
It sounds like a legal issue.
It sounds like a legal issue.
What does that mean?
So
Can I ask council then, can you give the information on who was in charge of the relocation for the gas company?
who was in charge for the relocation for the gas?
When the gas company issue happened, they relocated everybody that lived there.
SCG,
Yeah, they paid for it.
The responsible party paid.
The responsible party paid.
And there was a declaration of an emergency in that situation because that release was massive, and I believe there was both state and local declaration of emergency.
So so far in this condition, with the fact that they don't really have full control yet, there's no temporary relief that there could be a state of emergency for what's happening for those people that are super, super close in the area that are completely being affected. I mean, I'm just thinking temporarily. If the winds change and those people's areas are, in the wintertime are fine, they can move back.
Look, so all the decisions are being made based on data, and this is still evolving situation. We keep receiving data, and we have a bunch of different agencies with different expertise. They will be reviewing that, and if it rises to the level that is considered by experts an emergency, then such a declaration can be made. But again, we're still collecting massive data. I think Larry mentioned earlier that this is a type of chemical reaction that is not common in California. There's not a lot of case study as to how this occurs. And again, we're all going through this and learning, trying to figure out what's going on.
I understand there's no case study, however, people are getting sick. Public health is taking their, time with the data. With that being said, you have people that are severely sick, that have the symptoms. Is there any relief or any idea of what the landfill might be willing to do? I know you can't answer for them, but do you think that that's something that you'd be able to take to them and be like, hey, there's a lot of people who are super, super sick. Is there a way to
It doesn't seem that there's gonna be an answer to your
Yeah, there's
question
not gonna be an
tonight.
answer, yeah.
I know, maybe tonight, but my thing is, are they willing to take it?
Please, Jessica, slow down. There's not going to be an answer to your question tonight. You've shown a concern that they will take a look at, and your questions hopefully will be answered at least by the next meeting, but currently there is nobody that's taking this on.
I understand. My thing is, are they willing to even take it to speak to someone, or are they just gonna let it go?
I think all of the agencies, they heard the reports, are looking at the data and trying to work, and there's already a remedial.
My last question was to the landfill, not to you guys.
Oh, this is for the landfill? Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll tell everybody.
How would you answer that?
Yeah, it wasn't to you guys, it was to the landfill. If you're willing to take it on just to see. I don't know if it's a true option, but I do think that it would be something that would be highly sought as good faith on part of the landfill for the community. Because there are several that are willing to live with where they're at. They're not as suffering as much, but there are definitely those that are. I'm done.
Thank you. Next is Lynn Winter. Lynn, are you still here? No, Lynn? No? Okay. Here. All right, she had a question about is it leachate, but she didn't have what her question is, so unfortunately she's not here to make the comment. So we have Eden from?
Go girl.
Hi, I had a comment and a question. My first comment is that I'm highly concerned about the environmental impact on these gases. I've recently had pest control out to my house, and pest control this is the same pest control company I've had for many, many years. And I've had several properties in the Valverde community where I have seen thousands of dead bees on the ground. I have video, I have pictures, whole butterflies, dead birds. So I'm not satisfied with anything I've heard today, is what I'm saying. We have local and state representatives in this room, as I understand it. And we're talking about really serious things when we're seeing insects dying like this. The pest control man said he's never seen anything like this in his 30-year career. And he asked me, is something going on in the area? Here we are. So before humans get sick, the land speaks, the world speaks, the animals speak, and we can continue to ignore it, but at what cost is my question. I understand that I pay insurance, and there is a loss of use clause, which gives me the capacity to file a claim and move out of my house and have my insurance company investigate this. But I feel like even that would be unfair to me, because in my community it's hard enough to get insurance with the insurance crisis happening in California. So my direct question is, what are the barriers impeding Chiquita landfill from being relocated to the other site? What are the barriers? And I think this is a question for legal, and I'd like a response I understand you won't have a full one today, but I would like one by next meeting, line by line. Because if there are barriers, I'd like to know what they are so that we can mitigate them. I'm hearing a lot of, we're gonna hurry up and meet and post something on a website. That doesn't do anything for my bees, that doesn't do anything for my children, that doesn't do anything for me. I am disappointed, sir. I understand you were doing jury duty last week, but to me, it seems like you came here unprepared. I did not understand the other part. My other question is, I didn't understand the statement about the flares. And you said that they are designed to destruct. Destruct what?
They're designed to destruct the landfill gases that are collected by the collection devices at the landfill.
What is the science behind that? I have never heard of a device that has the capacity to eradicate and eliminate odors in the air at equitable capacity without negatively impacting humans.
Well, I didn't say that was eliminating the odors. Just
No,
talking
that's
about
not, I'm
the
not talking about
gases.
odors, I'm talking about impact on safety and humans. How do you separate air molecules? That is what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know if I can answer that.
Then why are you here today? Do you understand? That's how I feel. Like they sent someone uninformed and not someone who's a decision maker. Your decision makers should be here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. That's all the request to speak forms we have. You gotta give me a request to speak form.
I put it in. I handed it to you. We were setting up the camera, so I couldn't give it to you before the meeting. I walked
What
up.
is your name, please?
Shane Weeks.
What's that?
Shane Weeks. I handed it to you right when
Hold
people
on,
started
hold
talking.
on. Sorry, I don't have it, must have been replaced, but go ahead and come up and speak.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not doubting that you gave to me, I just can't find it.
So a bit of a statement and then the question. So when they were talking about extending the CUP some years back, Chiquita Landfill made a ton of promises. And some of the official promises weren't done, like redirecting traffic, a different entrance. That was never done. And then a lot of goodwill promises, you guys have fallen really short on that. The reason why I bring that up is because myself and my local neighbors don't view you guys very positively anymore. So we're hearing a lot of what you're doing. Chiquita Canyon's parent company is a $36 billion company. $36 billion. I'd like to, what do you mean no? Waste Connections, you're secure at that, right?
No, it's 8 billion, not 36.
Okay, all right, fine. $8 billion with a B. That's fine, it's still billion.
It's online, it says 36.
That's what I was going off online on your stock exchange stuff. So, to me, it doesn't sound like you guys are really investing that much in to do this and very quickly. So that's my statement there. So as for the odor complaints, from what I heard, it's before 5:30?
Correct.
Okay. So the way our wind patterns work is in the afternoons we get the light sea breeze up the canyon. And typically that starts mid-afternoon, late afternoon. And it's, for me, the peak, because I work out of my garage most days, is about 6 o'clock. So that means any complaint, you guys aren't going to come out and verify that. My question pertaining to that, has anyone done a wind study of the plume for the wind patterns of how the wind just flows through because the gases are going to follow the wind patterns? So has anyone done a wind study?
I can answer that, yeah, about 2 years ago when we were in the old AQMD order for abatement, we did do a wind study.
Okay.
And we tracked that. That was for the working phase odors. We are required again to do even more comprehensive study under the new order.
Okay. So with this wind study, could
May I have your attention, please? The library is
coming out
closing
be
in 15
modified
minutes.
if
If you have
indeed
materials to
that's
check
the
out,
pattern
please
that
do
shows
so now.
that
The library is closing in
the
15
gases
minutes.
are
Thank you.
flowing with the wind? Are you following me on that? A little nervous at the moment, it's been a while since I've done any public speaking. The predominant wind pattern being filling in after the hours you're proposing of them coming out to verify.
Yeah, I think this is just a temporary thing we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a permanent thing.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
And Shane, I did found your request to speak again.
I was gonna say, I can roll the tape back.
No,
My son
Oh, no,
recorded.
I just, that's why I didn't call you, because
Do
you
you
couldn't
have,
this
do
place.
you have time for one more? I have my request on hand. It's just, it took me a minute.
No, okay, can you give me a form, please? I need a form.
Yes.
Thank you. Great.
Do I have
Daniel
time?
Polo, go ahead.
Just a clarification, I checked the website, market cap is $35.9 billion. So, net revenue, you're right, liquidity wise, $1 billion. That's a lot of money. So, I just wanna thank you for being here for the county. I'm actually I was an engineer for the beautiful nation at JPL. I do wanna clarify something that you mentioned earlier, and it's just a clarification, I don't have a statement. But emissions from flaring might include carbon particles soot on burned hydrocarbons and partially burned and altered hydrocarbons. My concern with that is, with the volumes of tonnage that we are handling on this renewed effort to probably expand the dump, we're gonna probably put the problem somewhere else. So I think we gotta look ahead. And that's the concern that I have. The also statement about flaring is, also emitted are nitrogen oxides, which is heavily regulated by the Clean Air Act, and sulfur-containing materials such as hydrogen sulfide, mercaptans is flare, and sulfur dioxide. So, where are we going with these? I mean, are we, like the lady earlier mentioned, are we not listening to the earth, what it's saying to us, or animals? Are we waiting for us, humans, to really speak in a very bad way? And not really probably looking ahead of moving these down somewhere else. So that's all I have thought. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to respond to that? All right, thank you very much.
You still have a minute? I just remembered something.
Do you have a?
I had turned
Yes,
one
go
in
ahead.
before I spoke. I'm not gonna go up there, I just like that regional planning, who's with regional planning? I totally forgot that I watched a video about regional planning granting, going behind the residents' backs and allowing the landfill to keep going without any news people there, or anyone there, that they just got the okay to just keep bringing trash in, even though they were supposed to close and stuff like that in 19. So, yeah, so if that's happening, why do we think that anything's ever gonna happen here? You
Well,
know?
I don't think that information is correct if you want to.
Yeah, so, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want to respond. The CUP was subject to a long public hearing
What's
process.
CUP?
Conditional use permit.
That is the document, which is very extensive, probably has over 100 pages, that governs the operation of the landfill. That was subject to a review that was almost, I want to say, close to 2 years, and had enormous public input as well as several public hearings. So nothing was done behind the door or anything. So you can't, in California, under the law, you cannot issue a discretionary permit for operation of a landfill, behind the doors, just say, oh, here's your permit. So every process for every landfill, you have a land use entitlement, which is called a conditional use permit, which is under California Environmental Quality Act, subject to public input and public hearing process. That's what happened.
So when it was done, were residents there when it was done, in the news, and I could find that on
I
the
mean,
news?
if
I haven't-
news, I-
This is the only thing I found.
Sure, and
So-
all I can tell you, news reported, and I believe local news for sure reported on the lawsuit that was happening between
No,
county
about the
and
signing
Chiquita.
of that,
Well,
about
no,
allowing
that
it to
occurred
continue.
the lawsuit occurred shortly, within 30 days after the CUP was approved. So I want to say it was at least reported on that. But whether the news reported during the hearing process, I don't know. I imagine some of the people from this room may have been at the public hearing for the CUP back in 2017.
Would there have been a public hearing at planning commission and the board?
Yeah, actually, because that's a good point, Nikki. The CUP was issued for the planning commission, then it was appealed by the community members, and then pursuant to the legal process, it worked its way up on an administrative appeal to the Board of Supervisors. And then the Board of Supervisors modified the CUP based on public input. And, then the CUP was granted. That was July 2017.
I'd be able to find this on your website or
If
information
you go,
about this?
if you go on DRP's website, we can provide you with the name, with the number of the conditional use permit. If you put it in on the website, you have a transcript for the entire proceedings, everything that was said, staff reports.
Who was there? and things like that?
We don't even have a video, it's very recent, yeah, you can look at the video.
I was involved heavily, I'll be glad to tell you the community's opinion after the meeting.
Okay, we have one final request to speak and then at the end of the meeting. Jason Gardner.
Good evening, guys. I'm glad you guys, took your time tonight to come out and speak to us. This is going to be really more of a kind of a statement for you to consider. While I've been standing here, I've heard a couple things that obviously rub us the wrong way. When you said, the gas leak is completely different from this is dimethyl sulfide, that's not really a good statement to make, right? Especially considering the fact that, according to him, we're still collecting the data on the health effects. You can't make this statement that it's completely different. You shouldn't really be worried about your health, you shouldn't be worried about this thing, and now that goes to you and this company that is so large. Are we gonna wait for this data to come in to find out, yeah, over the past 6 months, we have actually been poisoning these people. Let's go ahead and relocate them. Or would it be in your best interest to begin to locate very few amount of people that will cost you guys next to nothing before it gets to the point where you find out, no, these are some pretty bad health effects. And you know what? If it gets to the point and we find out that the health effects were not bad, fantastic. You guys lost a couple grand on a couple people. Big deal, right? What's it worth to you? Is it worth waiting for people to get really sick and then months later finding out and then, someone potentially having irreversible damage just because we're waiting for the data? According to you, we're not data, right? We're people, right? These things affect us daily while your data is coming in. That's amazing. It's like running tests on, mice. We're not mice. We want action before, because you guys can afford it. You really can. But what we can't afford is the cost to our health, the cost to our properties. We want to be able to live and live comfortably. So that's really the only thing I wanted to bring for your consideration tonight. Again, I appreciate you all coming.
Thank you. All right, we have no more requests to speak. There was no request to speak for items not on the agenda. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 10th. On the agenda, you can see our next 3 meetings for the rest of the year. Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Bob.